From the very beginning, the essence of the brand was people, whether it be the customer or the people within the division or our retailers. That was really at the heart of everything, was to run a human brand. We had an advantage in many ways because we had a differentiated premise for operation and we had a very differentiated vehicle. If you try to be everything to everyone, there's no point. But if you want to be very, very special to a segment of the population and really hit their needs spot on, that's a great brand. We were going to take a very Japanese approach to the luxury aesthetic versus trying to out-German the Germans or out-British the British. So one of the things that was different about the Q45 especially was this infusion of this Japanese, this aesthetic, very spare, very clean, extremely simple design, but elegant at the same time. Part of the way you make something that's very different, special, as opposed to just different and bad, is you tell the story. We didn't have a wood grain dash. Pretty much every other luxury car did. To tell that story about why there was no wood really drew people in. It's different on purpose. It's not just different by accident or they weren't being cheap. And you could go through every single thing on the car and tell that story. The ownership experience was a story or many stories unto itself. At these training sessions that I was talking about that occurred on a regular basis, Bill would always be there to kick things off. He got a lot of letters from customers. One of the letters that he loved to read was from a customer who purchased a G20, which obviously is later in the brand's life. But this person goes on and on about how they were treated and how wonderful the sales process was and the people at the dealership. And below the signature was P.S. The car is really good too. And that was Bill's favorite letter because that essentially was the payoff for this whole vision and this whole concept that Infiniti was. So the total ownership experience, of course, all of us in those early days had it memorized word for word. It's great product, great environment, retail environment, fabulous buying process, fabulous service process, and a relationship with people you can know and trust. Right out of the box in year one, we tied for first in the J.D. Power Customer Satisfaction Survey. That initial report card, while not the whole story, certainly implied to us that we were on the right track. The people that loved the Q45 really loved the Q45. They got it. They got what we were trying to do because it was aligned with their sensibilities. They didn't want to be like everybody else. They didn't want to buy, the McLuxury car down the street. The car is an expression of the person as opposed to you fitting the expression of the car came through with a lot of people and a lot of the feedback we heard. Luxury goods, luxury vehicles especially, are not rational purchases. And so we just work really, really hard to build those emotional connections with our customer. Somebody was at a dealership, the sales consultant knew that they were a big football fan. Their new Infiniti was delivered to them. There was a football signed by the head coach of their favorite school on the front seat with them. Nobody asked them to do it. That was in no book that we gave them about how to satisfy a customer. It's this whole idea of going above and beyond to create that emotional connection. The way you inspire that in the people that contact the customers every day is by treating them the same way. We treated the regional people that way. Regional people treated the dealers that way. Right on down the line, if you treat your customer, internal or external, with that level of respect and trust and gratitude and treat them as an honored guest, they're going to learn by example and learn by osmosis to treat their customers as honored guests. There is a sense that I want to be like that because I know how it's making me feel, and I want to make other people feel like that too. There are a lot of things about today's life that separate people through technology. So when we can have human interactions and we can have this kind of emotional connection, I believe it's more important than ever. And I think that the fact that we majored on that way back then without having any ability to foresee the future and the technology divide and all that, I think this is going to be relevant forever.